IP address. We all have heard that expression, whether it's from those cringy movies, or your quick Google search, or just knowing, cause there are always people who just happen to know stuff. We all know what those two words are, what they mean, or do we? Let's find out. Chapter 1. Inspect the meaning of IP. IP stands for Internet Protocol and is essentially an address assigned to every device connected to the Internet or a network to ensure its identification, or more accurately, the identification of the interface that the device uses to connect to the network. So if you use an Ethernet connection in one instance and then use a Wi-Fi connection in a second instance, for those two instances you will have different IP addresses because you are using different interfaces. This identification ensures that each device receives only what it requested and that no information requested by one device finds its way to another device. These addresses are essential to the flow of data and information in the network. Chapter 2. Oh, wait. Something on the side note for Chapter 1. Your ISP can provide you with either dynamic or a static IP address. A dynamic IP address means that your IP is constantly changing whenever you disconnect and connect to the Internet, while a static IP means that you have a fixed IP that does not change. Static IPs are majorly used in servers and private businesses and are only given by most ISPs on special requests and at a fee, of course. Chapter 2. IP addresses and DNS servers. So if you fire up your browser and go to google.com, your browser does not know what this URL is. It will therefore query what we call a DNS server for the IP address of the computer that hosts this web page. A DNS server contains domain names and their corresponding IP addresses, and is helpful in ensuring a straightforward, uncomplicated use of the Internet. Without DNS servers, we would essentially be forced to memorize all IP addresses of our favorite websites. That will be an interesting situation, because who would want to do that except maybe for that showy know-it-all kid seated in front of the class? It will be a nightmare for the rest of us though. And that is why the domain name system exists, so that we can only know the names of our favorite websites and leave the work of resolving them into IP addresses to the DNS. Kind of like what your phone book does. You just dial a name, but it resolves that name with a corresponding number. Further explanations on the workings of the DNS and how it can be attacked by hackers to direct innocent people to malicious sites so as to collect their passwords or do other malicious things will be done in a future video. So consider subscribing and hitting the bell to get notified once that video drops. Moving on, Chapter 3. IPv4 versus IPv6. Internet Protocol version 4 versus Internet Protocol version 6. You have seen this form of IP before, right? What about this form? The first one is what an IPv4 address looks like. It's the most common form of IP address even today and has been around since the Internet switched to TCP/IP protocol in 1983. Fun fact though, IPv4 was just an experimental protocol and was kinda developed just to show the concept. There were plans to create a production version after the concept was proved, but IPv4 worked well enough that it ended up in the 21st century. IPv4 consists of 4 numbers, each separated from the other with a dot. Each of the numbers can be anything from a 0 to a 255. So the range of IPv4 addresses is this. But we have to remember that the computer does not understand these numbers. They all have to be changed into their binary equivalents. So an address like this will become this. Now, if you count the total number of ones and zeros in this address, you get 32, which makes IPv4 32 bits in size. Since we are dealing with binary, 2 raised to the power of 32 gives us this, the maximum amount of addresses that IPv4 can give, just about 4 billion. Now this seemed to be plenty back when they were developing IPv4, since the internet was not as widespread. But the internet has grown exponentially and concerns emerged of IP address exhaustion. So in 2012, IPv6 was launched. I said launched, not created, because it had been around for a couple of years. Since then, various ISPs have been trying to slowly deploy IPv6, but the switch to IPv6 is somehow not exactly elementary due to a number of factors, most of which I believe have to do with the costly replacement of already laid IPv4 infrastructure. IPv6, however, will ensure a larger address space since it's 128 bits long. IPv6 is written in hexadecimal, which is a number system that human beings are not exactly used to. Humans are used to the decimal number system, which only contains 10 values, 0 to 9. But there are a couple other number systems out there. The hexadecimal number system contains 16 values, 0 to F. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then we have A, B, C, D, E, F, a total of 16 values. So to get the maximum amount of addresses that IPv6 can provide, we take 2 raised to 128, which gives us this. I'm not even going to try to read that number, but it's a huge jump from our 4 billion addresses that IPv4 offers. This is like a million. I'm not going to try. And fun fact though, I recently had someone say that this number means that every grain of sand on the planet Earth can own a device that has a unique IP address, and that's just amazing. So it's amazing. IPv6 will solve the issue of limited IP addresses. Moving on, chapter 4. Oh, well, there is nothing in chapter 4, at least not for now. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next episode.